Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to cover some real world scenario based questions that our students have recently faced in their interviews. These are not a theory based questions. They are practically challenges that come on our day to day activities or day to day life whenever we are doing data engineering works, especially with respect to tools, Snowflake and Databricks. If you're preparing for interview or if you want to see how these tools are practically used inside project, make sure watch till the end because these are the scenarios that are widely asked and are super important. That being said, first question is for your large volume of data, how do you decide Snowflake or Databricks? Now see, the important thing you need to understand here, interviewer is not looking for, if you go and say Snowflake is best and Databricks is best for large volume of data, then your answer is wrong. Because we all know that Snowflake can also handle a very large volume of data, that even a petabytes or terabytes of data, even Databricks can handle a huge amount of data. But when to go and use these tools depends on the organization use case. For example, if you're using something called a Snowflake, Snowflake is widely used for what? Whenever is your project highly concentrated on SQL related projects, like whenever you have database, you are migrating that, where your database is mainly with respect to SQL, where you have store procedure, a lot of things are there, then Snowflake is best because 80 to 90% of your code you write inside your Snowflake is SQL oriented. If you are highly oriented with respect to analytical based company, Snowflake is best, where it can be used as data warehouse or data lake. And if you want to go and integrate your project with something called as low code tools like DBT, Matillion, then something called as ADF, Informatic ISS, or any other ETL tools, then Snowflake is best. Whereas your Databricks, if your project is highly oriented with respect to something called as Python, you have a lot of streaming data, continuously streaming data, then you are using something called as Spark structure streaming, heavy high-end machine learning models you're doing, which widely uses Spark architecture to run those applications, then your Databricks is best. Both can handle structured and unstructured data, but whereas your Databricks is mainly on top of your something called as Spark. So you need a dedicated team who can work on top of Spark and maintain that particular piece of code. But that doesn't mean your Snowflake is lagging behind for machine learning or data science related work. There is something called as Snowpark, where you can go and run your Python, Java, or Scala code inside your Snowflake for machine learning purpose. There is something called as Cortex AI, where you can use built-in LLM models or vector search or AI services. There is something called a Streamlit integration, where you can go and create your ML powered applications also inside Snowflake. So your Snowflake is no longer only for data warehousing or dashboard. We can also use something AI along with Snowflake. But the main thing is, if you are highly oriented with SQL, then go for Snowflake. If you want to do something called as more with respect to Python, go with Databricks. So your answer should be always, for large volume of data, the choice is not about scale anymore. Both can handle large volume of data, but if you want to govern or secure or analyticals or have a little bit ability of ML directly inside your data, go and use something called a Snowflake. If you are very highly specialized with ML teams, then you want to train a huge models, then Databricks is best. On the other hand, nowadays, even in many companies, what's happening is, now you should not go and totally concentrate on one tool, because if you are heavily dependent on one tool, what happens? Now, tomorrow Snowflake can come and increase their price like anything. And if you are keeping all eggs in one basket, then what happens? There is always a risk. So what does every company try to divide their work into two different tools? For example, they use Snowflake mainly for what? Analytical purpose or BI handling or keeping the data. And as soon as they require something called as advanced ML model, they can directly go and connect to Snowflake and bring that particular data and create their ML models. This is how the real time work will be there. So always keep in mind, it's not always about the volume of data where we choose the tools. It's based on the requirement we go and choose which is the best tool to go. That being said, now following up on the question on this, they'll definitely ask, since you said you are keeping your data in Snowflake and then reading in Databricks, how can you consume your Snowflake data? And what is the most cost efficient way? Now, that being said, now instead of directly saying it in theory, let me go and show you practically. Now, inside your something called as Databricks, you can go and connect with respect to Snowflake using something called as, let me come here, Databricks connection. We have something called a Snowpark, where Snowpark is mainly a library where you can go and connect to your Databricks to any application and directly run using Python applications. So you can install that inside your Snowflake and make use your all, give your all configurations, everything, and run that particular in the form of PySpark. You can able to go and read. For example, this raw transaction staging is there. Now, if you come and see that particular raw transaction staging, here is your data. This particular data I can directly go and read into my data frame inside our Databricks. We can see all things are there. Now, how all this information is coming? It is coming from session, and this session is defined with respect to connection parameters, and that is coming from Snowpark library. Now, we need to go and give your account information, user information, password, role, warehouse, database, and all. Now, how all this information is coming? When you come back to your Snowflake, there is something called as connect to your Snowflake. These all are the information where you are passing your account URL, you are passing your username, you are passing your role, and all your password, everything. And then now, since I don't want to go and show you my credentials, I'll not be showing this. But if you want to try, go and give all your information and try to give your query and run that as a SQL query. You'll be able to see the data. Or else, if you want to read that with respect to data frame, you can go and read. This is one way of connecting. Other ways, there is something called a JDBC connection also. If you come, you see here something called as JDBC. We can make use of this JDBC connection and run inside your Databricks. But these all are based on your network. Now, the best way, the cost efficient way they are asking, then your something called as Unity catalog come to the picture. Now, Unity catalog is very advanced. Now, if you come and see, there is something called as external data, where you can bring your external data. There is something called as connection, and you go and say something called as create connection, and you give something called as Snowflake. For now, I'm giving my name as a Snowflake. And if you come and see here, there are a wide number of applications you can go and connect. You can go and connect with your Oracle. You can go and connect with your MySQL. You can go and connect with Salesforce. Everything is there. I'll go and say something called a Snowflake. And there are different type of authentications you can go and use. Now, I'll be explaining this authentication. For now, I'll use something called as username and password. If you want, you can go and give comments. I'll give something called as next. I need to give my host. Now, host again, where it is coming from. Again, there is account information. There is account here. I'll copy this. I'll come and paste it here. Now, your user, I'll come and I'll copy this and I'll paste it here. Now, your password. For obviously, I won't be able to share my password, but I'll add my password here and I'll say next. Now, once you give a particular warehouse, what warehouse I need to go and use inside my Snowflake, I need to go and give. I'll give compute underscore warehouse that is there inside my Snowflake, that is compute underscore warehouse. Now, I'll come, this blue as it is, no need. You can go and say account admin. I can go and use this particular account admin role and then say create connection. As soon as you see, the connection is successfully created. And inside your Databricks, what you want to store that under which catalog, give that particular catalog name and which database you need to access. For now, I'll go and access this Matillion DB, which I'm having inside my Snowflake. I'll give that particular database here. I'll come here. Now, this again, storage, everything, information, external storage. If you want to keep anything, if you have that, you want to read that, you can go and use this. For now, we don't have any external location. I'll just go and say, create this particular catalog. Now, you have this particular information. Now, privileges is there. Now, let me say, for now, browse this all information and I'll just go and save this. Now, as soon as I save this, you see there is something called as Snowflake catalog is created, but you are not able to see anything with respect to my Snowflake because your Unity catalog is having where you can go and use all the governance security part with respect to Unity catalog. That's why I need to come back again catalog. I'll go back again. I'll come something external connection. There is something called as connection. I'll click on this particular Snowflake. There is permissions. Now I'll go and grant my permissions to whom? All the users inside my Databricks. Now, since this is a free edition, you are not be always seeing all these users. Whereas in your organization, there will be specific principles or something called as where user groups, where you can go and give that particular user group only access. Now you can go and give all the privileges, and you can give only also manage privileges, where you can go and drop, rename anything if you want. You can go and ownership privileges. And as soon as I say confirm, have confirmed this particular information. Now your access has been given. And if you come back and refresh this particular catalog, you will be able to see that information. Let me refresh this. Now, why you still are not able to say? Because I need to go and select the compute, whereas serverless data warehouse compute, I am selecting where any catalog information you need to see inside your database, you need that serverless warehouse compute. So I'm selected that, it got started, and all the information with respect to your Snowflake information has been loading. Once it loads, all the information will be shown here. Okay, bad request, something called as invalid this. Let me come and see that particular catalog again. Go back, permissions. I'll do one thing. I'll come and edit this. Username, this is correct. Let me come back and copy this, paste it here, and then I'll give my information. I'll come and I'll give that, and I'll update it. Now let me come and refresh. Now you're able to see all the information. Now I need to read this particular data. For example, inside that Uber, I have all these particular tables. How can I read? Now I'll go to my SQL editor. As soon as I go to SQL editor, you will be able to see that particular information here, and then let it load. Uber, under this Uber schema, I want to read something called as, let's say, rights. I'll just click on this. You got the information. Whatever the things are there, I'll say select star from my Snowflake catalog. Now, since there is no something called as database, your catalog comes into the first, then your schema comes, then your table comes. I'll be able to go and read that information. As soon as I click this particular run, it will take some time to pop up that particular information. Let it run. I'll show you. Meanwhile, let me take this right here. I'll come back. Okay. I'll execute this particular write. We have this particular write information here. And if you come and see all the writes, R1, R0, whatever the information is there, that particular information with respect to your Snowflake has been there. Now you can directly go and use this inside your notebook. For example, I'll go recent. I'll take this new query. Recent. I'll take my Snowflake connections. I'll come. Now, whatever the table you want, you directly go and use this. You can go and use inside your Spark, PySpark code, anywhere, because that is being connected to your Unity catalog. This is how you go and connect your Snowflake with Databricks, and you will be able to consume that particular data. That being said, I'll come back to my PPT and we'll see a few things. Now, I showed you how to connect with respect to something called as username. Now you can go and connect with something called as access token, where you can go and create some short-lived tokens from OAuth provider, identity platform, and you can use that. It is secure, no permanent password will be there, but the only thing is this token expires on after a specific time. You have to go and refresh that particular pipeline and refresh that particular token. There is something called as PEM or private key. We can go and use this also, where it is a very secure, no password is there until unless their thing called as private key or public key, the both has been correct, then only it will go and use. We can use something called as OpenSSL to configure these all things. Correct. And there is one more thing, interactive OAuth login credentials, that also you can go and use. But the main thing is, if you are having any production pipeline and all, the best way to go and use is something called as private key, since it is more secure. If you are using something called a short-lived application or tokens, where you want to frequently go and keep on changing that, then you use SSO, heavily enterprise or short-lived tokens, or you are doing something called as development or ad hoc analysis, always going to use username and password. But you don't need to worry, because these all are the admin kind of work, where your Databricks admin will be taking care of. But you need to understand how your data is coming from your Snowflake to Databricks. I hope you understood. I hope you got something from this particular video. That's it for today's scenario. We'll be continuing this series. In the coming days, we'll be seeing more common questions that will be asked inside your Snowflake and Databricks interviews. In the next part, I will create more scenarios that our students are facing inside the interviews. So make sure watch those videos. If you like this video, please like it, subscribe to our KSR Datavision channel, and we'll see in the next video. Thank you.